Blood Time, the podcast that speaks to the bond, the emotion between coach and athlete at the interscholastic and intercollegiate level. Each interview, each segment will reveal that bond and what was learned, how they were transformed, and what each athlete took to the world at large from that transformation. These stories will warm your heart and astound you altogether. Submitted for your approval. Now it is Blood Time.
Hey Blood Time listeners, this is Maverick Peters over at MV Podcasting. Just want to give a quick shout out to our dear friends at Defense Soap. They're doing an incredible job staying on top of the world crisis that is COVID-19. Check them out if you get the chance at www.defensesoap.com. Thank you.
Hey, this is Blood Time. Coach Cimarroni here, and I want to thank the unbelievable father-son team last Blood Time. Larry and Adam Hoon, the former coach at Cleveland Heights High School, and the current coach, Adam Hoon, at Bedford High School. Father-son team that was phenomenal. Great stories, very heartwarming interview for me and for you guys, hopefully. I want to welcome the next guest, a young man that I coached back in the day, the guy who did something that very few guys have ever done, and that's win a state title, particularly at a public school. But he also had a great coaching and educational experience through the Jesuit community at both St. Ignatius and at John Carroll University. I met this gentleman at John Carroll University, had the honor of coaching him and actually officiating a few of his challenge matches back in the day.
Here we go.
That's right. I want to introduce John Gramuglia. How you doing, John?
Great. Thank you for having me on. It's exciting.
It's fantastic that you're here. John, you are the retired head coach at Wadsworth High School. You're currently the director of operations there for the wrestling program. But you started back in the day, and you created a state championship team in 2010. We're going to talk about that down the road. But what I want to start with you, because of Blood Time, obviously, we are blood, is that the coaching connection that you had back in the day at both St. Ignatius and John Carroll. And I know that you had a Hall of Fame coach, Tony DiCarlo. I had the honor of coaching with him, coach you through your college career. But talk a little bit about your high school experience and then go into college.
I was kind of a 95-pound kind of shy kid, believe it or not.
Okay. That is really hard to believe.
Yes. And, there I am going to St. Ignatius where many of my uncles went. It was kind of a tradition to go to St. Ignatius, and I was just kind of a lost soul in the beginning, and just start hanging around.
Freshman arts, really,
right?
Unless
and they kind of program you that way, like forget everything that you learn in the parochial school, and you're getting restart. I remember the first day of school, they bring everybody to the gym and say, look to your right, all the freshmen, look to your right, look to your left, because they probably won't be there in 4 years, and you get all scared, and you better buckle down right now. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I did, and I never wrestled my freshman year. I kind of just went to school, did my paper route.
Just kind of figured it out.
Right.
Yeah, just
and
got your feet wet.
Good friends start saying, hey, why don't you wrestle?
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up wrestling 3 years, and then my senior year got big enough to play football. And at St. Ignatius, it still is today. It's a big deal to play. And it was cuts and everything. Sure. I mean, they had, the varsity team, the sophomore team, the JV team, the freshman team. So it was a big deal. So I made it to what they said in my yearbook, to the elite of the jock era, instead of just wrestling.
You were royalty.
But my coach had so much influence, Mike Setta, who started the, St. Pat's program, CYO, and then he took that, and he went to St. Ignatius, and he ruled with an iron fist.
Yeah.
So
back in the day, who didn't?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That was our thing.
he taught me that that's what you had to have, and broke the lineup junior and senior year. I never had anything past, I think, just not past district, just made it out of sectionals.
Right.
Didn't have it figured out yet.
No, I get it. A lot of guys, figured out down the road, right?
Exactly.
Well, you had to figure it out at John Carroll.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I was lucky enough. I didn't wrestle my freshman year again at John Carroll.
Right.
And I just hung out with all those guys.
Okay.
And then I would come down to the wrestling room and, maybe go to open mats or whatever we did training. And then Tony DiCarlo came up to me and goes, "Why aren't you wrestling?" And I go, "Well, I want to really concentrate on my education." He goes, "You get here next year," or whatever it was.
Right.
I can't remember the exact scenario. And then I wrestled the next 3 years.
That's fantastic.
And look at, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be sitting here because I wouldn't have found my passion.
Isn't it, think about that, right? Think about just the simple, and he was aggravated with you, kind of, right?
Yeah, like
he was
why
like,
are you
"What's
so
the matter
dumb?"
with you?" Yeah, that's right. What's the matter with you?
John, what's the matter
What's the matter?
with you?
You know what I mean? And so all of a sudden, that little thing, right? We are just that little thing,
That little nudge
nuance.
brought me into the family,
Right.
And and I owe him so much of that,
Right. And so tell me a little bit about, John Carroll, Tony DiCarlo, but some of the guys on the team that you had to bond with that just, probably are the things you look back at. It's like, wow, that was some fun stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
right?
you probably remember some of these guys, too. Kevin O'Neill.
Oh,
I mean,
Kevin O'Neill.
Mike Troutman. And
Well, Kevin was a quarterback, right, for Ignatius, was he, or not? Or no, am I thinking of a different guy?
Yeah, that you're thinking Kevin Hartman, I think.
Kevin Hartman, yeah. He was actually, Kevin was, wasn't he the AD at
Garfield Heights?
Garfield Heights, yeah.
Right.
And he was actually a history major, buddy of mine. So,
Yeah, he's a good guy. This Kevin O'Neill is from Chicago.
Okay,
Yeah, he wrestled upper weights for us.
Right.
And Chad Gross and
national
Dan,
champ.
right, Dan Stefanson,
National champ.
national champ.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
Goes on and on. It's just those guys, I still stay in touch with those guys. And, the brotherhood that we have, it's one of those things that you don't have to, just like you and I, you don't have to talk to each other for almost even a year, and you just pick right up. And
it's a beautiful
and Tony kind of created that. I mean, I think some of it was his heritage and his culture of the Italians.
Sure.
Of family and how important it was, and so
warm, passionate, compassionate,
exactly.
But also a tough guy.
Right, and you got to put up with other people's nuances and stuff like that. It's not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, we're so sensitive now, right?
I know.
So
right? Yeah.
you couldn't be sensitive because he would say some things to you, and you just had to take them with a grain of salt and move on. But that's kind of my parents were the same way. My dad obviously was full Italian. And then my mom was Irish, so you could imagine some of the battles in that. There's no time for...
Irish stew had a lot of spaghetti sauce in it.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
But think about it, right? He did it out of love. Absolutely. Because he knew that, this is a tough sport. If I don't prepare you, I'm not doing my job, So what are great parents about? Preparing you for life. And I'm sure Tony validated those lessons that you learned from mom and dad, right? That's the brilliance of great coaching.
I've been blessed to have that. The Lord was always looking out for me because He always put really good people right there.
Well, it's interesting too. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
One of our prior guests, who's a dear friend of mine, and you had a lot of goes with, was Barry Broom. And as a freshman coming in, he said, make sure you ask John about how he mentored me as a senior. You were a senior and he was a freshman. And it wasn't always the greatest situation because you had to wrestle him for that weight.
Yeah, I mean, we were in the same weight, but he and I just kind of gravitated towards each other right away. I mean, he was a kind of a cool kid. And
a character, too.
Yeah, and he's a character. And he was, probably same kind of upbringing. We were not the most, affluent household. My dad was a construction worker and laid off in the winter and that kind of stuff. So, Barry's from that kind of background, blue collar, so I think we kind of gravitated towards each other. So I took good care of him. I'd get him out of some trouble, and I kind of was that, big brother that I think that some of that coaching was already coming out because I was always helping, the younger guys out.
You were like a player coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Already. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Just like in the wrestle-offs you were telling me about, right?
Right before the interview, I refereed a few of the wrestle-offs between you and Barry always had that high crotch, and there was a point difference typically.
Yeah,
between
I don't think I ever beat him, but he probably would say I did, but I don't remember it, so it probably didn't happen.
Right.
But they were tough, and it made me, better. But what did you told me that I was
the greatest line was, DiCarlo, you questioned a call or two.
Me?
Yeah, exactly. I'm refereeing you, and so DiCarlo has to step in, and you go, and DiCarlo got in your face, and you your line was, "Ease up, big guy." And I said, "This guy's got some swag." Back in the day, before swag was swag, right?
And that's what, when we go to any reunions, it's always,
ease up, big guy.
Hey, big guy, ease up.
And so you were my guy. I really liked you guys. I mean, that whole team was cool, right?
Yeah, it
Mickey
was.
D'Angelo, we had Sal D'Angelo.
Yeah.
And I refereed that match where Sal popped out his hip when he was wrestling Paul Reniger. It was crazy. He goes, "It's out, it's out." I go, "What's out?" He goes, "My hip." I'm like, "Oh my God." And that was very dangerous because of the bone growth. The bone.
Yeah, you can die.
He could have lost the growth in his leg. But having said that, we had some phenomenal kids on that team, and we had some characters too. We had Vic Ventresca and Tommy Gallagher and Jeff Spike Anderson. It was like, what the heck? We had these all-stars from around the seven-count area,
Tom,
right?
Yeah, Tom is a good friend of mine now still, and his son's wrestling.
What a son.
Yeah.
Patty's
right? Awesome.
Over at St. Ed's.
So, yeah, I would have loved to have him come
Holy cow.
to Wadsworth.
Right.
Him and Reaney. Phil Reaney was another.
Yeah, and Phil was right around your weight, right?
Yep. Phil was a little bit bigger.
Maybe a bigger, yeah.
Tommy, I had to wrestle off too.
Oh, yeah.
So I had Tommy and Barry and
Yeah, you had to really go through the murderer's row. Absolutely. Well, that's cool. So DiCarlo was your real first head coach, would you say, Hall of Fame kind of mentality that did you glom onto that? Did you take that in?
He was he developed an institution. You know what I mean? I mean, it's still there today, and not just the wrestling.
With his name on it.
Yeah, exactly.
The DiCarlo Center. Yeah.
So, I mean, he taught us the elite of the elite, and always what I learned from him the most was to be first class. Yeah. You don't do anything JV. You do it first class. And, my brother's a colonel in the Marines, retired this year, but he always would say that. He would tell his men, first class, everything's first class, no JV. And we just kind of kept that in our household.
It's so important.
What I developed.
It's so important. And these stories, this revisiting Tony DiCarlo, but that mentality. I got a beautiful letter from Mark Haywald. We interviewed him. He was our inaugural interview.
Oh, really?
Yes. With Sonny Marchetti, the head coach at Notre Dame, who also had Frank Romano to learn from. Obviously, another Hall of Famer. Different mentalities, but creating the same type of a family institution, right? And Mark, he wrote a beautiful letter to me saying, "I didn't realize the history, the beauty of what I was taking over, because I never had the opportunity to coach with Tony, And so he only heard stories from his dad, though obviously was a two-time national champ for them back in the day, for us back in the day. And so that's really important to hear. And so it's important that we get these stories out there, don't you think?
Absolutely. They were my first captains, Jimmy Weir and Mark Haywald, and to watch them train, and they had so much class too when they wrestled. I mean, they never showed emotion. You didn't know. I mean, they didn't lose much, but they were the same, win or lose. Right. And we kind of instilled that. You run off the mat each time, and no one should know which way it went. Right. You should do it the same way. Right. But having those two and see them train. Whew. I mean, man. Mark never got taken down ever in practice, even when he came back.
Crazy.
I mean, and then he would never, on a break, which we didn't have that many, but we had a few, he would be doing chin-ups or squats or knee over toe penetration steps. He never sat down. He never took a break. He might have taken a quick sip of water or whatever as he's running around the wrestling room.
What an amazing lead dog for the program. And, I had, obviously, Jimmy Weir was phenomenal, 3-time national champ. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Weir's a Cleveland Heights product, and I had the honor of having, like I said earlier in the broadcast, Larry Hoon in. And he said this guy was just the best. Jimmy Weir was just the best. He was an erudite leader with class, and so I love to hear these kinds of things because we need this in our society today. The trash talking, to me, I don't get it.
It's terrible.
Well, I don't get it because it's your job. I mean, you're particularly at the professional level, what we just saw, the nonsense we just saw at the Steeler, Browns game. What are we doing here?
And, if you look back at the history of our sport, right. When did you ever see a fight?
Yeah, you didn't.
I mean, yeah. I'm talking major matches that were sudden death, overtimes. And
right.
And afterwards, you hug or you shake the guy's
both
hand.
Both warriors, man. We put on the singlet, now the combat gear, whatever it is.
Yep.
If you step on that mat, whether you're getting pinned in, 30 seconds or when you're going to triple overtime, whatever it is, you have the ultimate respect for that guy.
Exactly.
Now, look, in our sport, we still have goofballs, like any sport.
Yeah.
But that is a very minimal spot, in our sport.
In your elite. Yeah, especially your elite wrestlers never go there. Some of your younger kids might, not realize, that they don't have their emotions under control yet, but very seldom.
And I'm seeing it a little bit, though. I'm seeing it a little bit at the national level with the guitar playing from the kid at Penn State and then Valencia going back and forth with that. I think that's okay. It's a little bit of showmanship because, we are obviously entertainers now to some degree, right? But overall, it is just a different sport. We say it's a very honest sport. There's nowhere to hide, right? It's so. Having said that, you had this great foundational scenario with Seta and DiCarlo. You then went into another phenomenal opportunity with Tim Flanagan, the head coach at Trinity, and became his assistant, right?
Yes, I remember going to his house. Sister Catherine, another great leader of that I was surrounded with, hired me, and I had to teach a couple classes during, the school day.
Sure.
That was part of my interview process.
Okay.
So I had to walk into a class, and I had to teach, like, just punctuation. The teacher, she walks in, she says, "Oh, this guy's got to teach
something."
Yeah, so she sat in the back with her other cohorts, and there I am, I'm teaching. And you talk about having to be brave.
That's right.
I never met these kids ever.
Baptism of fire, right?
And then she says, "Oh, you did such a good job. We're going to go to one more." So we went to, and then she hired me on the spot, and I was so excited.
Love it.
That same day, ironically, Mike Hall was just being hired, and it was in April, and he was visiting there, and he had all the boys in the gym, and he was talking about winning a state championship.
Love it.
And they just changed the divisions to division, the 5 divisions back then. Okay. It was from 3 to 5, and he goes, "Hey, we're going to be Division 4. We're going to win a state title." Da-da-da-da.
Love it.
So then I end up coaching football.
Yep.
And then Tim Flanagan, I go over to his house, and he asked me all these questions, and we're still really great friends, and he's just kind of I didn't realize that he's such a what do you call that? Likes to set you up and trick you a little bit. Gotcha. He's always pulling your chain.
Yes.
I was going to say some other things, but
exactly.
but
That's right.
He ended up saying, "Well, hey, you drink beer?" I go, "Well, once in a while."
Yeah.
And he goes, "All right, you're hired." That was the bottom line.
Sarcasm.
So,
yeah. I like that.
So I didn't know if it was a setup, like I wasn't supposed to, but Tim, he taught me for 4 years.
Well, listen, we went down, and the other thing that Tony did, DiCarlo did, was those Florida trips, right?
Oh, boy.
And that was a way to bond.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, sometimes it was a crazy way to bond when he gave you a couple of days off, but beer was involved with bonding.
Yeah.
So Flanagan took that to a different level, right?
Yeah. So, with Timmy Marks there.
Timmy, I coached Timmy.
Yep.
Great kid.
Couple Perrine and Al Crespo. And
Paul is my assistant coach at Sugar Falls.
Oh.
Terrific. And he's got a great couple sons, too, that are wrestling.
Yeah, they are a tremendous family.
Yep.
And we stay in touch with them. And but Paul was in the state finals, the same at the very next side mat that when Bart Randolph. So we both, Tim and I, both had state championship match in the finals.
Fantastic.
And Al already won it at that time, and then Paul was coming up. Uh-huh. And so it just kind of neat to walk together.
Yes.
How,
a very rare scenario.
Yeah.
Right?
Very rare.
And you're how old? 24, 25?
Yeah, 25 years old.
Yeah, it's just so
head
so
coach,
cool. Yep.
and
Yeah.
there I had my first kid in the finals, and we're wrestling Rex Holman.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, who I don't know anything about,
Right.
because I just wasn't, tuned into the sport like like I am now.
Or you can be now.
Yeah, I can be.
Yeah,
And he's like a little redheaded, young looking kid, and I'm telling Bart, you're gonna just, because Bart went a lot of upper body stuff.
Sure.
I go, you're gonna just double under him, and you're gonna.
Right.
Well, I didn't realize he was a Greco-Roman national champ
Absolutely.
and a freestyle national champ that year.
Right.
And we went upper body, he hit us with a head and arm, and
Bye-bye.
we were down 5-0,
Wow.
and we ended up losing like 11-7 or
Sure,
something.
sure.
But it was like,
Wake up.
Bart still to this day is a nice move, coach.
Well, I had that happen to me with a kid who we go into the state finals. Michael Goldberg, another guy I interviewed, and we didn't know what the tilt was. We never saw it before, and he got beat 14 to something.
You took him down. You said go down, right?
No. We just didn't even know what it was. We didn't even know what it was. He was, we went down. Well, back in the day in 1981, you had to go down. So, great. Thanks, coach. Right?
Yeah.
I took second in the state for you. Well, whatever, whatever you're gonna do. But so you got that great foundation with Flanagan and the guys there. It was a terrific situation. And I had another similar situation at 23 years old. I coached Nicky D'Angelo. I was in the seat when he won his national title. So I understand that it's just an amazing feeling that sometimes you may never get back to.
Exactly.
It's just so
you
crazy.
can't take it for granted.
You gotta live in the moment, right?
Yep.
And enjoy that moment and just drink it up with all the passion you can get. So having said that, you get an opportunity to become a head coach.
I did. Mike Hall, who
Okay.
we talked about before.
Sure.
We won a state championship,
Nice.
so I thought that was easy.
Right.
I'm thinking,
you didn't realize how much hard.
and we ended up winning like 25 straight games, football, and he got the head coaching job 4 years later at Wadsworth.
Nice.
And he came back, and we
you were
were all
saying, like,
sad.
where's Wadsworth?
Exactly.
Right,
Oh,
yeah,
believe me, I
yeah.
thought it was really down in the country somewhere.
Sure.
And he said, there's an English opening, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
He says, why don't you interview for it? And I said, well, all right. So I go down there and I get the job. Well, they go, do you coach anything else? And I go, wrestling. They go, well, the head coaching job's open. I go, you're kidding me. And they go, yeah, really, no one wants it. So they were 0-26. They didn't win for 3 years straight. And, they were.
What year was this?
1984, going into 85 season, 84, 85.
Yep.
And so really I got it kind of like by
default.
And there was the principal gave me a letter from the parents. There was 100 reasons why they should get rid of the other coach.
Right.
And he looked through there and or he gave me the thing. He says, look that over. Are there anything that you want to, because they're saying this, and this, and culture or whatever it was.
Right.
And the one I saw was like, shows moves that don't work. And I go, well, swear to God, it said that. And I said, well, that one, I probably will be showing a lot of moves that don't work, considering they're 0-26. But their goal was to get a full team, just like you've been doing. Yeah. Start recruiting, and they had a good nucleus. Believe it or not, I saw, Bart Randolph was he was a sophomore, and Mike Garn, and Rick Whelan, and Matt Bendel, and I'm looking at all these like they can't be this bad. Right. And then we so the forfeits we cleaned up, and our very first match we wrestled Coventry. Who has won? They have a lot of a couple state
Potts
titles,
boys
right?
came out of there.
Right.
Are you kidding me? They were
and
tough.
The K-Lies
they were always in our district.
Right, K-Lies, and you had the, so many of them.
Right.
Dave, that I was just on. Ends up that we won. We went over to Coventry, and I did it like a football game all summer. We talked about how we were going to beat Coventry, win the first one, get the monkey off our back right away.
70 days to Coventry.
And I said, quiet, weigh-ins. They're not going to be ready for us. They beat us the year before, 68-3 or whatever it was. It was crazy. Yeah. And Bill McElroy was the only one that won, and he's back in the lineup for us. He was our captain. I go, we're going to go over there and beat them. And we ended up in their gym where they've had a lot of historical matches with Highland and all those guys.
Sure.
And we ended up beating them.
Wow.
And our AD, Laurel Mass, who hired me, said, you don't need to win another match the rest of the year. And you know me, I'm like, what?
No.
We're going to have a winning season.
Exactly right.
So I was kind of, young and dumb,
Listen,
but didn't know better,
right.
and just wrestled really with passion. We just wrestled hard. We had the talent.
Ambition.
Yep.
Right? I'm ambitious. Let's get it done, right?
After starting the youth program, I said, I said, we're going to beat St. Ed's here. And they're all like looking at me like, what? Yeah. Like, why didn't you win a league title first?
Coventry's one thing, but come on, St. Ed's is another.
So it ended up, we were lucky enough to do it. Yeah. But we also put the plan together, and I told them at meetings and stuff like that, guys, that's our ultimate goal, but we never talk about it. Right. We're not going to go, I don't want our parents, I didn't want them chirping and telling, everybody this is what we're going to do. Right. So let's just do it quietly.
Keep it in the family.
I love
it.
There's
our bond. There's our blood bond. Right there. Yeah.
And there was a couple teams that we thought could be the one, and then this group came along, which is our 10th year reunion.
Sure.
I went up 2010.
Right.
We ended up beating it. But we probably, if you're looking on paper and I look back, we should have won it in 2009, 2010, and 2011.
You were totally knocking on the door.
Right.
Absolutely. So things, but when you go to the state tournament, things have to happen, really fall into place. And so think about that, John, right? Here we go, 1984, and this is your thought process, right? Took you 25 years to accomplish it.
Right.
But mamma mia, what a stepping stone. What a progression of excellence that you created for 25 years and now continues. I mean, you guys are ranked, 35th in the country?
Right.
Something like that?
Right now, yes.
In the Elite 50? I mean, you're there.
Yeah.
You are a perennial power.
And I'm blessed to have Clay Wanger take that over. He was my captain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wrestled at Kent State, but he was captain. I met his Mike and Kathy Wanger, his parents. Moved into Wadsworth. They're from Copley.
Okay.
Mike was third in the state, and his brother Dave was their first state champ ever.
Okay.
So he's moving in, and I have this guy, Collins, Mr. Collins, I call him, but he called me and he said, they were best friends, and he goes, if you don't call Mike Wanger, you're dumb.
Yeah.
You're.
Yeah.
And I go, oh no, I'll call him. And so I called Mike and went over his house, and we instantly became friends.
That's awesome.
And that's when Clay was 4 years old.
Wow.
And his sister was like 2.
Oh my goodness.
And they moved in Wadsworth, and I said, boy, we really want to, get you involved right away with the youth and da-da-da-da-da.
Sure.
And he started it, and that was the core of the state championship.
And you have some incredible stories, too. And this is what this is about. The transformation of somebody that maybe shouldn't have done what they did in a positive way. And I think you want to talk about one of those guys, right?
I can talk. Yeah, there's a lot that I could talk about, One that's coaching right now is Larry Kaufman with us, and he has his sons in it. But Larry was a 7th grader.
Okay.
That was my first job at Wadsworth. I didn't teach at the high school.
Okay.
The only opening was the 7th and 8th grade English.
Yep, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
that happens a lot.
And lucky enough, the next year, because they said, in 1 year, and then they'll retire, and then well, I was lucky because the very next year that did happen.
Yep.
But Larry's sitting in 7th grade study hall. I'm teaching 8th grade, but I have the study hall for 7th grade, and I look at him. I go, "Hey, what are you doing this year?
Mm-hmm.
You should be playing. You should be wrestling." And he's just looking at me wrestling. He didn't even know what it really was.
Yeah, right.
And he ends up, okay. And he's just kind of, he told his dad. His dad didn't even know about anything about wrestling.
Right.
And then Larry Kaufman goes on to being a state runner-up and 3rd, and ends up going to Ashland.
Wow.
And he's a 3-time All-American and national runner-up.
Holy cow.
So here's, but he was a great football player too at Wadsworth too.
Sure.
But the point was, he chose that path, and all it was just like you recruiting kids out of the, so you can start in 7th. I tell kids, we've had a lot of kids start in 7th and 8th grade.
Sure.
You don't have to start always in 1st grade.
You don't.
You can pick it up. I mean, isn't it the peak wrestlers are 28, 29 years old, you know? So our sport, you can peak later than some of the younger ones, like baseball's 22 or something like that.
Correct.
But another person who Larry influenced was this other one was Bobby Jones.
Oh, this is a good story,
you know, Bobby Jones was a football junkie but loved wrestling, and he wrestled for our youth, but he wrestled, I think, for the Norton youth too, because we didn't have a youth program at the time. So he got involved in the Norton youth, which was, you know, still a good wrestling program.
Sure.
And he started that, and he ended up getting, I think, the Wrestler of the Year for Norton youth. And I think that kind of ticked some people off there, because there's a Wazzer kid getting it.
Yeah.
But
I've
he
seen that
didn't
happen.
know. Yeah, he didn't know a lot about wrestling, like a lot of moves. But the moves he did, he always got to him during his match, and they made him pay. He was a pinner.
He had his match down.
Right.
He had his match. We talk about that all the time. Get your match. Take your match to your opponent.
So the story goes that his 9th grade year, we're looking forward to him, but we have a pretty good upper weight system, and we've always had, and continues to now.
Right.
But he wasn't probably going to get the lineup varsity that year, so he hurt his back in football. He had a stress fracture, and he thought, so he tells me like about a week before wrestling, he goes, you know, I'm going to take this year off and just kind of heal and lift. And I pulled him into the classroom one-on-one, and I can't say it all here.
I understand.
But I said, no,
podcast.
Yeah, automatic, you are not taking this year off. I go, this is your most crucial year, because you need to learn the fundamentals, Bobby. And I looked him right in the eye. I go, you better be there, you know. And he was there.
He needed that.
Right. Yeah. He needed to, you know, that assurance, and, you know, he's a believer.
Okay.
And he said, well, I'm going to believe what Coach says. And I, you know, owe it to him for that, because he kind of showed everybody that, you know, that's what you got to do sometimes. You got to just listen and believe. So he ends up not wrestling. We have Josh Hendricks in front of him.
Sure.
And ends up, so the next year he comes out, they added the 215 weight class. Right. He bumped into the 250. He was a natural 215, obviously. Sure, yeah. And ends up going to state. And so did Hendricks, and so did a lot of other people that year.
Right.
And he ended up losing in the blood match, locking hands. He's winning by 1 point with riding on top.
Yeah.
5 seconds left. The kid hits a switch from St. Edward.
Sure.
And locks hands, goes in overtime. The kid takes him down.
Gotcha.
So that was on his mind for a whole year.
Oh, yeah, you got to eat that for a whole year, man.
Now he trains and trains, and now his body kicks in, obviously.
Okay.
And now he becomes heavyweight.
Okay.
And he goes, hurts his knee again in football.
Oh, boy.
But he comes back halfway through the year, wins a state title, winning only he went undefeated. He went like 24 matches in a row.
Yeah.
It was a short season for him.
So what?
And then the next year, he won it again.
That's fantastic.
So he's a 2-time. But before that, the thing that's interesting is that we didn't have a state champ at Wazzer since 1943.
That is fantastic.
So now here's a kid. There's a lot of kids
in the 90s, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So he, you know, you have all these people that are knocking on the door. We're in. I think I lead the coaching ranks with most runner-ups. You know.
I got you. Yeah.
But at that time, we had a lot of runner-ups. But Bobby in 1996 ended up in Dayton.
Nice.
Winning it, and then he runs up in the stands and hugs. The first thing he does, he runs in and hugs his mom and dad.
That is fantastic.
You know,
that's a fantastic.
And he broke that barrier from 43 to 96.
That is.
And after that, you know, we've had, you know, how many? Kayla, Chris, and Matt, and Tim, and Dave Crawley, and Brad Squire, 2-timer.
Wow.
Loudon Gordon, Nick Tavanello, a 3-timer.
Holy cow.
And Ben Bazzelli, Noah Balpin, Jordan Ernest. You know,
that is just a great.
He opened the door.
Legacy. And tell me, in 2010, what did it feel like?
Oh, I still get the same feeling. It was kind of a lot of emotions and gratitude to so many people that, you know, that believed and just kept the dream.
Sure.
And they kept dreaming. And, you know, it was a rough tournament the year before.
Yep.
We came in first place in the semifinals.
Yep.
First time I think anybody was in a public school was in first place going into the finals or semifinals. And we ended up coming out with -1 points after the semifinal round. No. We lost a team point. Yeah. We lost every match in the semi 7. And then we lost the 2.
Slide,
Yep. And they were all tough matches,
Yeah,
believe
of
me.
course, of course.
I mean, looking back, the matchups weren't there.
Yeah. Yeah, you just got it. They were at their level.
Right.
They were at their level. Yeah.
And then we ended up dropping down to third. And then the next year, Chief Kali, who he and I, God bless him.
Sure.
He took a picture of when we were in first place.
Right.
And every semifinal round, he would show everybody that picture.
Beautiful. Yep.
It was just something
We're
secret between
not
us.
Bitter meal again.
Right. It was something just between us.
Sure.
We didn't tell a lot of people this,
Sure.
obviously. Then.
But let me tell you something, John. You were such a hero to so many in the wrestling community because of what you did, and finally broke the string of this.
Was it 33?
33 years from Nordonia?
Yeah.
The Black Knights of Nordonia, or the Golden Knights, or the Knights of Nordonia, whatever their moniker is to you guys. And me I'm sitting there, and I was coaching John Carroll for that. I came out for a cup of coffee to coach John Carroll in 09-10, and I just was so proud.
Thank you.
To see that, and it was just
tough.
wonderful.
And the thing was, it's probably one of the best state tournaments of the decade. I mean, because it came down to the final match. I mean, it wasn't like we went in there and we had it won.
No, you had to.
We had a battle,
and
Ed's was probably one of the best second place teams ever. They scored 160 some point. No one's ever done that in Division One. So it wasn't like they handed it to us. I mean, we had to earn it. We had 6 in the finals, 4 champs.
It's fantastic.
And to have that, and then they ended up having, I think, the same.
Yes.
So it was really a dual meet.
You
it was
win
just beautiful.
6. I mean,
Nick,
you win 4 out of 6.
And we put Nick Tavanella as a sophomore on the line. He's got to win.
Right.
And he wins at the buzzer, takedown at the edge that we practice so much, keeping your feet in bounds.
Yes. Just working that edge if you have to. Yeah.
And he had a counter shot, which we do. That's kind of our game.
Love the counter
and he almost got taken down, and then reshot, and he believed. I mean, I'll never forget it. And then Ben Bazzelli comes up, and that was he and Chief Kali and Bobby Jones coached Ben.
Oh, okay.
In the finals. Well, it was already planned not to.
Okay.
I mean, they were going to do it no matter what, even if we had to win that match. But Ben just hugged Nick and goes, "Thank you."
Oh my God.
Because he lost to this Brecksville kid two times.
Yeah.
Like in the sectionals, he lost in the finals. He lost in the districts, but he ends up winning anyway in the finals. And that was just a moment here. Is that was Chief Kali's last match before he passed away, because that summer he ended up passing away.
Yeah.
So Ben, we just went to his wedding in Madison, Wisconsin.
Wow.
Ben invited us there, and so Larry Kaufman, Bobby Jones, and I drove up there for a quick whirlwind Friday night.
But that's what
That's what we do.
That's family. That's family.
And Ben was crying
sure
at his wedding, because we came up there, because we were like, we're not going to miss this.
Right. And speaking of family, you were inducted into John Carroll's Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And again, it was a moment when I heard about that. I heard about it through the grapevine. That I was extremely proud to hear that.
Thank you. That's all the doings of Tony DiCarlo. You know that.
Yes. And Tony, we lost Tony a couple years ago, and I was at the funeral. It was amazing, right?
Yes, it was.
It filled the gym, filled basically the entire DiCarlo Center. And I remember, Chuck Garofalo was my assistant coach, and he saw me standing in line, and like family pulls me. He says, "No, you're not standing in line." And I said, "No, you're not standing in line." And, I get emotional thinking about that.
Me too.
What a brilliant thing. So when you were inducted, did you give a little talk?
Oh yeah.
Give us the nugget that came out of that talk. Tell us a little bit about that.
Really that Tony's special, and that he shares things are you talking about the car that he
Yes.
let me use?
Yes. It's a great story.
Yeah, we had he always took care of you. We got jobs at the steel mills,
Sure.
the wrestlers.
Sure.
Tony would take care of you that way. We had this. We taught phys ed. Because he knew I was a teacher. I taught phys ed at St. Jude's, which was so that they had me teaching. So I had to ride my bike there.
I love
it. I mean, from where St. Jude's is down in Richmond.
Yeah.
Well, the one day I'm driving the bike down there, and I lift up on the handle.
St. Jude's is no longer there, right?
I don't really know. Okay.
Yeah. It's a school or something. Yeah.
So there I am driving down Richmond Road. Okay.
By Emory.
Yeah. And I lift up on my handlebars and they come off.
Oh, no.
Now I'm driving, pretty good pace. So I knew how to, steer without my hands, but not without a handlebar. So I drift, I'm trying to stay up and I'm drifting to the left. Lucky there's no cars.
Oh, my God.
And then I just go, okay, time to ditch it. So I ditched it.
Yeah.
And then I threw it in the field, covered it up, and then I hitchhiked to school. Wow. Well, God bless her soul, the good principal there, the nun, starts ripping me because I'm like 5 minutes late. She goes, I'm not going to be able to have you if you're going to, I'm bloody, If you're going to be 5 minutes late, you college kids got to know that when gym class starts at 11:30, it's 11:30, And I'm like, I didn't even tell her.
No.
Because you don't do it. So obviously my roommate comes and gets me.
Right.
We get the bike. We pick that up.
Right.
Well, then I don't have a way there because I can't get my bike fixed. So I asked Tony DiCarlo. I go, hey, Coach. I never called him Tony. No. Hey, Coach DiCarlo. Yeah. You think I could, borrow a car or get a car? And he goes, oh, yeah. He says, here. Keys to his 67 Mustang. Beautiful. Fastback. Yeah. Convertible, white interior, leather. Right. He goes, hey, just take good care of it, please. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, sure. I'm like, no problem. Exactly. Well.
At least the handlebars won't fall off of this.
Exactly. So I think I take it like 6-7 times before I.
Sure.
Well, the last time that I took it, that he let me take it, I came home, and as I'm getting out of the car, I look down, and my pants are old. I must have put a pen in my pocket. Oh, no. And there's blue ink all over his white leather seats.
Oh, my God, dude.
So I got in.
That's a moment of pure fear.
And Tony's already scary enough, right?
Right.
I mean,
6'3", 225.
And I go, Coach. He goes, what happened? Well, then he sees my pants. He goes, no. And I could just see him.
Oh, my God.
Now, he tells me that he ended up taking it to a place and they got it out, thank goodness. But it wasn't, that was a tough moment. So I kind of shared that at the thing. But I was just so grateful for him and then the whole wrestling program.
I love it.
For giving me that opportunity to be in with such tremendous people.
Amazing people.
Yeah.
Well, John, you've been a tremendous leader in our community, our sport, and you've had some amazing leadership mentors over your career. I hate that we have to wrap this up.
Yeah, we could probably talk for a long time. Well, I really appreciate this. And I'll come back maybe if we can.
Yes. So, John, I'm going to put you on the spot. Leave us with something you'd like to leave the audience with.
Just to everyone, give wrestling a shot. I tell our youth kids, talk another friend into it, because if a friend didn't talk me into it, and if Tony didn't ask me to come and join the family and just give me that nudge, then I wouldn't be here. I would have a whole different path of life. And I think sometimes we just need to, it's not all just wrestling, but encourage people to
play some sports, man.
Be a 2-3 time sport.
I love that.
Don't multi-sports is huge, and I've been preaching that theme for years.
Me too.
I mean, there's too many friendships that go by. It's not about the sport. It's more you're missing the friendships and the relationships that you have, and that will last a lifetime, and you don't know where that's going to take you. Yep. So that's what I'm going to leave us with. Get involved, and don't be afraid to ask other people to come with you.
Recruit, but not in a bad way. Right?
Yeah, no.
Recruit in a good way. Yeah, recruit within your within your structure.
Don't be afraid to stand for something.
I love this message, because yesterday I reached out. We had a kid that came out of the blue last year. A kid named, I'm going to call him out, Camden Amata, and did great. He didn't know wrestling from Adam. Did great. At the end of the year, he's winning matches. Physically strong. He's a terrific lacrosse player. Okay, freshman, and they win the state title. So guess what he's doing?
Just lacrosse.
Yeah. So I reached out to him. I sent him. I said, no pressure. Just come talk to me. And I emailed him, and I emailed his mother. I didn't have his father's email for whatever reason. I emailed the athletic director and my assistant coach. He hasn't responded. That's okay. But I want him to know that we still love him and we want him in the family.
Yep.
And there's no pressure. If he doesn't want to wrestle, that's fine. So listen, Camden.
Yes, and all you other ones out there,
Exactly.
wrestling just started, and
Yep.
it's a heck of a journey.
Right.
But enjoy the day, win the day. Don't always look at the state championship right now.
Right.
Win the day and enjoy that moment.
Love that. Well, John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
John Gramuglia, we are Blood. This is Blood Time with Coach Cimarroni. Thank you so much, and good luck to the Wadsworth Wrestling team.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. I want to leave you with this thought of the day. Find some one thing, idea, spirit, state of being to be absolutely madly passionate in love with.